Well, hi there, Moose fans. Lone Moose here. Hope everybody's doing okay. We're still cooking down here in South Texas. See, today's 24th of September and it was 107. Friggin' ridiculous. But, you know, I just have to laugh at those who keep saying that climate change is a joke. No, it's no joke. Anyway, what I'm going to do today is make a new holster. I'm going to let you all follow with me. And I got a puppy trying to jump up in my lap here. When I was at Tandy Leather a couple of weeks ago, I picked up this. Well, actually a full roll, a half side. This is water buffalo. And the coloring on it is just awesome. And I thought, man, that'd make some really cool holsters. So I was hanging out with my buddy, my retired Marine buddy, Lieutenant Colonel Dan, the other day, and he was telling me that he just got himself a new pistol for his collection, a Glock 22 40 Smith & Wesson that was actually a San Diego Police Department turn-in. It's even marked and everything else, and he really loves it but has no holster for it. So I said, I tell you what, let me play around with this and see what I can do. So what I had done previously is taken the standard pattern that I used for the 1911 holsters like this, and I expanded it made it about 3/4 of an inch wider, and made his son a holster for a Canik TP9SF. And so I had his son take the holster over by Dan's the other night, and he tried it just to make sure that it would fit within this boundaries. So I'm going to cut it out, punch the holes and stuff, and get it ready for wet forming. And then Dan's going to let me have the Glock 22 for an afternoon so I can do the wet forming on it and then get it back to him, and then I'll finish up the lacing and stuff. There'll be no stamping, lettering, anything like that on this. It's just going to be the natural redness of the water buffalo. And I got another new toy here that I'm going to be using, because lighting in this room, and this is about the brightest room in the house, is still not great. Hey, I'm getting older, so my eyes need an assistance. So I was at the Direct Tools outlet store up in San Marcos last weekend and happened to see this thing. And it works with it's a Ryobi, it works with their 18-volt 1+ battery system. So, you can have all kinds of different tools and use the same kind of battery in all of them. So I'm going to get this out of the box and get it set up, and then I'll be back with you as I get ready to trace this out and cut out the pieces. So kind of stick around with me. Oh, and by the way, I get absolutely no sponsorship or remuneration of any kind from Ryobi or from Tandy Leather, for that matter, when I mention them on stuff. I pay for all of this stuff myself. It's for my own personal use. These are not formal product reviews, if you will, but I do like to let you guys know what I'm working with or what kind of neat new toys I've got. So let me get all this put together, and then I'll be back with y'all shortly. Okay, I'm getting ready to start working on this. As you can see, I got my little light on over here. That's on bright. I can turn it down a little bit on low, or turn it off and you see how dark it is. So I'm going to work with it on high. Now, ultimately, gotta figure out which one of these works all the time. That one. Okay. I could lay the pattern out here on the front side and trace it and cut it out, but I really don't want those ink marks, because there will end up being some that might bleed over. So at one point when I made another holster, I said, okay, fine, I'll just flip these things over. Well, what that does is that gives you a left-handed holster. So if you want to trace them on the back. Basically what you got to do so that it'll end up this way is boom, slide it under here, slide it under here, flip it over, and now you see it is in that configuration. So let me get these drawn out and then I'll start cutting on them. Okay, there's the front piece, and now the back piece of the holster. And something's happening with my pen here. There we go, let's try it again. Even if it doesn't, the ink part doesn't come through, it's scratching the leather enough that I can use that to cut it with. So, I know it's hard to see here, but you can see it on this side. And then the holes for the belt loop. Now, I ordered some punches, or stamps really, to cut these out. Oh, it's probably been a couple of months ago, and then I come to find out, oh, they're coming out of China, so who knows when or if I'll ever get them. But such is life. Now, what do I use for knives for cutting out? And I've seen a lot of people use a lot of different things, but I basically use this Harbor Freight set of more or less X-Acto knives to cut them with. Usually the number 11 blade seems to be my favorite one. Again, just like the other stuff, I get nothing from Harbor Freight, no remuneration or freebies or anything like that. Stuff I buy myself to use. So let me get things set up here and start doing some cutting. What I'll do is I'll just take those binder clips and clip it on here so that I can punch the holes, and the same thing on this side. And then I'll just do a running stitch between all of these and tie it in a knot in the back, so that once I finish with the wet forming, then all I have to do is untie it, and then I can do the regular lock stitch on it. So it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be awesome. It'll basically go together kind of like this in this aspect, get it in the right way. So the pistol will come in here, and then I'll wet mold it to the frame. See how it comes out. Anyway, I'm going to call it a night, folks. I got to get ready to go to bed, get ready for, get the dogs out for the last time if the storm hasn't kicked in yet. And I'll see y'all tomorrow night when I continue. Hey folks, you ready for day 2 of working on Colonel Dan's fancy new holster? Tonight what I'm going to be doing is punching the holes to sew it, and I got a little puppy right here in my left hand. It's demanding I pet him. Punch the holes and then do the rough sew, and I'll show you what I'm doing there. Now I'll show you as I start doing the punch, and I'll show you the tool and everything here. But I'm not going to make you watch me punch at what, 90 holes or so? No. But to give you an idea, and then I'll come back and then we'll work on it when I get ready to sew it up and show you how I do the temporary sewing. So the device I'm using, let me get my the device I'm using right here is this punch or press, whatever you want to call it. Bought it from Tandy, and again I get no remuneration from it. It's got a drill chuck on it here. Try and get a better shot of it there. And then what I use for the holes is a 1/16 inch punch that just sets up into the chuck here. Right now I got it closed off, but open it up and then I'll show you as we do the punching. Okay, now as you can see I've got the pattern clipped over the water buffalo, and I use these binder clips. I think I got those at Office Depot, a bag of like 25 for $9 or $10. It works great for this. And then as I punch around, and you see like where the red one, when I get to here, I'll move it up to the other side so I can work around. Same on this side. And the same for the small one. So actually I think I'll start with the small one here for you. And basically I just line it up, run the punch through the first hole, the pattern hole, and boom. It punches all the way through. Make sure you can see that there. Boom, just like that. And I'll just work my way around here. Doesn't take long at all with this thing. And you can put other kinds of things in this press too. Things to punch your holes like this, or for lacing. Works really well. Just going to get around here and show you the way that I move this binder clip around. So now, before I could go any farther, I've got to move the binder clip. So I basically just release it and slide it up here. Make sure I know which hole I'm working with. Go through it again. Boom, got that one. Like I said, I'm not going to make you watch all of these because it's just a very redundant process. So I will be back with you when it's time to start the sewing, and then I have to tomorrow or sometime this week, try and get Colonel Dan to let me borrow his Glock 22 to wet form it. So, you get the idea. All right. Like I said, I'll be back shortly, and we'll pick up with the lacing. Okay, it's time to do the temporary stitching or sewing on Dan's holster so that I can wet form it. And essentially what I'm using here, this is tandy leather wax thread. It's called Natural Color. And the way that I basically do this, I pull off a big old chunk of thread. And this is different than regular lock stitching. So basically what I do, and I always start from the back side, and I'll show you why when we get to the end of this, you'll understand. And leave a tag piece, maybe 5-6 inches long, and just start working my way through these. Then it gets to be a little challenging sometimes, especially when you do something like that and pull it from the wrong direction. But the nice thing about it is, it comes right out, boom. It's what I get for talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing here. But y'all know I can talk too much. Alright, so basically I'm starting on the more complex side, the one that's got 3 lines to lace, and you gotta kind of get everything. Once you get the first side in, it's not that bad, but it's a matter of finding where the hole is. And okay, it's time to do the temporary stitching or sewing on Dan's holster so that I can wet form it. And essentially what I'm using here, this is tandy leather wax thread. It's called Natural Color. And the way that I basically do this, I pull off a big old chunk of thread. And this is different than regular lock stitching. So basically what I do, and I always start from the back side, and I'll show you why when we get to the end of this, you'll understand. And leave a tag piece, maybe 5-6 inches long, and just start working my way through these. Then it gets to be a little challenging sometimes, especially when you do something like that and pull it from the wrong direction. But the nice thing about it is, it comes right out, boom. It's what I get for talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing here. But y'all know I can talk too much. Alright, so basically I'm starting on the more complex side, the one that's got 3 lines to lace, and you gotta kind of get everything. Once you get the first side in, it's not that bad, but it's a matter of finding where the hole is. And essentially do. But this will hold it together for when I do the wet forming. And really that's what matters right at the moment. There. And boom. So I will take this and then basically just tie it, you know, like you would tie your shoes, into a bow knot. Because once the wet forming process is done, you got to take this apart, and it's so much easier to do it that way. Now, probably have enough to do this. Coming down here. Now, you see how there's a difference between the two? This is where the binder clips come back in. Because you've got to get it over here in kind of this range. And it's so much easier if you use the binder clips to hold it in place. Now see, you got a little hole here, but once it's sewn, you'll see how this is going to work. So again, start from the back side. Put the knife out of the way so you don't hurt yourself. Leave yourself about that much. And when you have a problem and you really just can't find the hole, I got a little awl right here to punch it out for me. Maybe it'll be a little easier. There we go. Whoa, that was almost a big boo-boo. Don't pull your string too hard or you're liable to have a problem. Yank it all out and then you got to start over again. Okay, got all the stitching and stuff done now. And you see, this is the pocket in the holster where the pistol will fit. And what the wet forming process basically amounts to is soaking this in water till it gets real limber. I'll take Dan's Glock 22, wrap it in plastic wrap, and put it in here. And then put this inside of a freezer bag, vacuum seal freezer bag, and use my vacuum sealer to suck it down to the shape of the pistol. And then I've got a little tool that I use to help mold it even more. And once you're completed with that, you leave it in the vacuum seal bag for 2 hours. Then you take it out, but you still leave the pistol in it for 2 more hours. And by the time you pull the pistol out, it's permanently shaped. So then I basically will go back through and take these loose, pull this thread out, and do the final stitching Now, if you remember in the first part, I said that, I've got to do some sanding, and it may not show up very well here. Some of the unevenness, the way that the knife blade would flex while I was cutting it. So basically, you take it to a belt sander, and that's out in my shop building. And I'll do that in the morning before I go to the tire store and see Dan and get this part done. So, all ready to do the next section. So y'all stick with me. I'll be back tomorrow, show you some more. Alright, I'm getting ready to do the wet molding for Colonel Dan's Glock, which I picked up today at lunchtime. Have the holster ready, my food saver, vacuum saver. Basically what I do is I take and I saturate this, then I shove this in here, it goes in the vacuum seal bag, I vacuum seal it, and then leave it in there for 2 hours. So let me go get this wet. Be right back. Okay, now you see how you've got this little offset here. This is the trigger housing side. So set it in here, and then I've got a little tool that will help shape this. Guess I ought to turn it around where you can see it. It will shape it even more as I vacuum seal it here. But basically, this heavy, thick leather is not going to exactly do like some of the thinner leathers. Alright, so into the bag. Into the vacuum sealer. This out so that I don't think the camera picked it up, but the vacuum sealer really pulled it in right here. And then now I can take my tool and really fine tune it. You see you got the trigger housing here. The ejection port is up in here somewhere. It's not going to pull it in because the leather's so thick, but shape it like this, set my timer for 2 hours, and go find something else to do. And then we'll go to the next step. Boom. All right. I'll see y'all in 2 hours when it's time to take this thing out. Well, as the holsters video series continues, Truth in Advertising, I'm going to use this next little clip in both the Colonel Dan holster video as well as the Cowboys Armory video. Where I'm at with the holsters right now is I have taken them from you know, the basic old floppy pattern like this, and have done my stamping on this particular one for cowboy, and then I have wet molded the two so that now, as you can see, it's very rigid and is in the shape of the pistol. In this particular case, it's for a Model 19, or a 1911, not a Model 19, a 1911 5-inch barrel full size. So I've also taken and done the edge painting on these. So my next step on the cowboy armory is to do the dye work, and then sew it together. And this one will be done. On the Colonel Dan holster, again, kind of the same thing. You can see here I've wet molded it. I've taken the temporary sewing apart, but it now maintains the shape of the pistol, which in this case was a Glock Model 22, 40 Smith & Wesson. So I've also done the edge painting on here. And now all I have to do is re-sew it. I'm going to try and do a little bit of edge painting on the inside here for the belt loops. Don't know how well that's going to work. The Q-tips won't fit in there. It's not quite that big. And sew this together. Once these are sewn together, then I'll burnish the edges, which is kind of polishing them, puts a little bit of polish and seal on it, and be ready to deliver them. So at this point with the Colonel Dan holster, I'm going to go ahead and do the stitching on it. You don't need to sit here and watch me do that. And then plan is to deliver it to Dan tomorrow. And I may or may not be able to get him on video to get his thoughts on it, but he definitely will put his thoughts in the comments. Hope y'all are enjoying this. Let me get back to work, and I'll see you. Now I'm going to do my typical Gemini thing and split myself apart and go back to Colonel Dan video, and over on this side the Cowboy's Armory. Gotta have a little fun in life, right? Alright, I'll see you when I get him ready for the next stage. Okay folks, here's Colonel Dan holster finished with his Glock in it. I think it turned out pretty cool. It's a really interesting leather that I used. Kind of turn it around to give you some different views of it here. And I'm due to deliver this to him in about 12 minutes. So, yeah, I'm real happy with how that came out. I'll let you know what he thinks about it here as I take it to him. I'll see y'all in a little bit.